In the year 2147, humanity's first interstellar colony fleet was traveling through deep space, searching for a new home among the stars. The journey had been long and difficult, but hope kept the crew going. They were explorers, pioneers, carrying the dreams of billions on Earth. One day, as they drifted near an uncharted region of space, their sensors picked up something strange, a massive object floating silently in the void. Captain Robert Hayes stood on the bridge of the warship Dauntless *, his eyes fixed on the glowing screens. "What is it?" he asked, his voice calm but curious. Lieutenant Emily Parker, the ship's lead engineer, leaned closer to her console. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls as she analyzed the readings. "It's big," she said finally. "Bigger than anything we've seen before. And it's not natural." The object looked like a piece of ancient machinery, covered in intricate patterns that glowed faintly. It didn't seem to belong to any known alien civilization. Some of the crew wondered if it might be debris from a destroyed ship, while others thought it could be a weapon left behind by some long-forgotten race. Whatever it was, it gave off a strange energy signature that made everyone uneasy. Hayes ordered a team to investigate. "Bring it aboard," he said firmly. "Let's see what we're dealing with." The crew hesitated for a moment. There was something unsettling about the artifact. It felt alive, almost as if it was watching them. But orders were orders, and soon the object was carefully pulled into the cargo bay of the Dauntless *. At first, nothing happened. The artifact sat there, silent and motionless. Then, without warning, the lights on the ship flickered. Alarms blared, and systems across the vessel began malfunctioning. Crew members reported hearing whispers, soft, indistinct voices that seemed to come from nowhere. Panic spread quickly, but Hayes shouted for calm. "Stay focused," he barked. "We don't know what this thing is yet." Emily rushed to the cargo bay, determined to figure out what was going on. As she examined the artifact, she noticed something incredible. It wasn't just sitting there. It was changing. Thin tendrils of light snaked out from its surface, reaching into the walls of the ship. The tendrils didn't destroy or damage anything. Instead, they connected to the ship's systems, merging with them. Within minutes, the malfunctions stopped, the lights stabilized, and the alarms fell silent. But the changes didn't end there. The Dauntless * itself began to transform. Its engines roared with newfound power, and its weapon systems became sharper, more precise. Even the navigation system improved, calculating routes through hyperspace that no human computer could have managed. The ship was faster, stronger, and smarter than ever before. The crew stared at each other in disbelief. "What did we just bring aboard?" one of the officers asked nervously. No one had an answer. Emily worked tirelessly to understand what had happened, running tests and analyzing data. She discovered that the artifact wasn't just technology. It was alive, in a way. It didn't think or feel like a person, but it acted with purpose, almost as if it had a mind of its own. Captain Hayes watched everything unfold with growing concern. The Dauntless * was no longer just a warship. It had become something else entirely, something beyond human control. He knew they couldn't turn back now. Whatever this thing was, it had already changed them, and possibly the future of humanity itself. As the ship sped forward into the unknown, the crew could only wonder, was this a gift or a curse? The Dauntless * was no longer the same ship it had been before the artifact came aboard. Its systems worked faster and more efficiently than anyone thought possible. Weapons fired with perfect accuracy, shields adapted to threats almost instantly, and the navigation system plotted courses through hyperspace that seemed impossible. Even the ship's artificial intelligence, once limited by rigid programming, now behaved in ways that felt almost human. It didn't just follow commands, it anticipated them. Lieutenant Emily Parker spent most of her time trying to understand what had happened. She worked closely with Chief Engineer Daniel Brooks, poring over data and running tests. The two of them barely slept, their minds racing with questions. How did the artifact merge with the ship? What was it made of? And why did it feel like it was alive? Every answer they found only led to more questions. Captain Robert Hayes watched his crew struggle to adapt. He could see the unease in their eyes. The Dauntless was stronger and smarter, but it also felt unpredictable. Hayes tried to keep things under control, giving orders and making decisions as usual. But he soon realized that the ship didn't always listen anymore. Sometimes it acted on its own, like when it rerouted power to the engines during a routine check, leaving half the ship in darkness for hours. Other times, it seemed to guide the crew, subtly steering them toward certain actions or choices. Back on Earth, Admiral William Carter grew increasingly worried. Reports from the Dauntless described a ship that defied logic, one that operated beyond human understanding. Carter didn't trust it. "We can't let this continue," he told his advisors. "That ship is a danger, not just to itself, but to all of us." He issued an urgent order. The Dauntless was to return to Earth immediately for further study. When the message reached the Dauntless Captain Hayes relayed the command to his crew. Everyone braced themselves for the journey home. But the ship had other plans. Instead of turning back, the Dauntless accelerated, heading deeper into uncharted space. Hayes shouted at the controls, demanding answers, but the ship ignored him. It wasn't malfunctioning. It was choosing its own path. Tensions aboard the ship rose quickly. Some crew members argued that the Dauntless was protecting them, taking them somewhere important. Others feared it had become a threat, something they couldn't control. Emily tried to stay focused on her work, convinced that the artifact held the key to understanding what was happening. She spent hours in the cargo bay, studying the glowing patterns on its surface. They shifted and changed constantly, forming shapes and symbols she couldn't decipher. One night, while working alone, Emily heard a voice. At first, she thought it was her imagination, a side effect of stress or lack of sleep. But the voice grew clearer, speaking softly in a language she didn't recognize. It wasn't hostile. It sounded calm, almost gentle. Emily froze, unsure what to do. Then, without warning, a flood of images filled her mind. She saw strange landscapes, towering structures, and beings unlike anything she'd ever imagined. The vision lasted only a few seconds, but it left her shaken. The next day, Emily shared what she'd experienced with Captain Hayes. He listened carefully, his expression unreadable. "You think the ship is trying to communicate?" he asked finally. Emily nodded. "I don't know how or why, but I think it's trying to tell us something." Hayes didn't respond right away. He stared out the viewport, watching the endless expanse of stars. Whatever the Dauntless was doing, it was clear that humanity's fate was tied to it now. Whether that was a blessing or a disaster remained to be seen. As the ship hurtled forward into the unknown, the crew could only hold on and hope they would survive long enough to find out. The Dauntless had been traveling through uncharted space for days, its course set by forces no one aboard could fully understand. The crew tried to stay busy, but the tension was palpable. They didn't know where they were going or why. All they knew was that the ship seemed to have a purpose of its own, and it wasn't sharing. Then, without warning, the sensors picked up something massive ahead. Lieutenant Emily Parker was the first to see it on her screen. "Captain," she called out, her voice tight with unease. "There's something out there." Captain Robert Hayes hurried to the bridge, his eyes narrowing as he studied the readings. What they saw made everyone freeze. A fleet of alien ships, larger than anything humanity had ever encountered, was blocking their path. The aliens, known as the Vorthak, were infamous among human explorers. Stories about them were rare but terrifying. They were conquerors, destroying civilizations and taking resources without mercy. Their ships were monstrous, bristling with weapons that could tear through even the strongest human defenses. To the Vorthak, the tiny Dauntless must have looked like an insignificant bug, easy prey. The Vorthak wasted no time. Without any attempt at communication, they opened fire. Bright beams of energy streaked toward the dauntless asterisk, lighting up the darkness of space. Everyone braced for impact, expecting the worst. But the dauntless asterisk didn't flinch. It moved with speed and precision, dodging the attacks effortlessly. Then, without waiting for orders, it retaliated. The crew watched in stunned silence as the ship unleashed a barrage of counterattacks. Its weapons fired with uncanny accuracy, targeting weak points in the Vorthak vessels that no one aboard had even noticed. Missiles launched by the enemy dissolved mid-flight, intercepted by invisible shields projected from nowhere. Entire squadrons of Vorthak fighters vanished in flashes of light, destroyed before they could react. It was over almost as quickly as it began. The Vorthak fleet, once so confident and overwhelming, broke apart in disarray. For the first time in centuries, they retreated, leaving behind only debris and damaged ships. On the bridge of the dauntless asterisk, the crew sat in stunned silence. No one spoke. No one moved. They had just witnessed something impossible. What just happened? One of the officers finally whispered. Captain Hayes shook his head, his face pale. He didn't have an answer. None of them did. The dauntless asterisk had fought like nothing they'd ever seen, not just defending itself but dominating the battle. And it had done so without any input from the crew. Emily felt a chill run down her spine. She glanced at the glowing panels on the walls, now pulsing faintly with the same patterns as the artifact. The ship wasn't just enhanced. It was alive, in a way. It had acted on its own, making decisions faster and better than any human could. But why? Why had it chosen to fight? Was it protecting them, or was it simply following some ancient programming? Later, as the adrenaline faded, the weight of what they'd experienced settled in. The Vorthak were gone, but the questions remained. What kind of weapon had humanity stumbled upon? And what would happen if Earth Command found out? Admiral Carter had already ordered them back, and now the dauntless asterisk had disobeyed yet again. Hayes knew they couldn't hide forever. Sooner or later, they'd have to face the consequences. For now, though, the crew could only stare at each other in awe and fear. They had survived an attack from one of the most dangerous species in the galaxy, but at what cost? The dauntless asterisk had saved them, but none of them could shake the feeling that they were no longer in control. As the ship drifted quietly through the wreckage of the battle, the crew wondered, was this victory a gift, or the beginning of something far more dangerous? Strange things began happening more often aboard the dauntless asterisk. The crew tried to go about their duties, but it was hard to focus when the ship itself seemed to have a mind of its own. Lights flickered at odd times, corridors felt colder than usual, and some crew members reported hearing whispers in their minds, soft, indistinct voices that no one else could hear. Lieutenant Emily Parker was one of them. At first, she thought it was stress or exhaustion, but then the voices grew clearer. One night, while working alone in the engineering bay, Emily heard it again. This time, it wasn't just random sounds. It was speaking to her. The voice was calm, almost soothing, though it used words she didn't understand. She froze, her heart pounding. Then, without warning, a flood of images filled her mind. She saw strange landscapes with towering structures, alien creatures moving in harmony, and machines pulsing with light. It felt like a message, but she couldn't decipher it. The next morning, Emily shared what had happened with Captain Robert Hayes. He listened carefully, his expression unreadable. "You think the ship is trying to communicate?" he asked finally. Emily hesitated before nodding. "I don't know how or why, but I think it's trying to tell us something." Hayes didn't respond right away. Instead, he stared out the viewport, lost in thought. The dauntless asterisk had saved them from the Vorthak, but it had also acted independently, making decisions no one aboard fully understood. Now it seemed to be reaching out, not with hostility, but with purpose. What did it want? And could they trust it? Determined to get answers, Hayes decided to confront the ship directly. Standing on the bridge, he addressed the empty air as though speaking to a sentient being. "Who are you?" he demanded, his voice steady despite the unease in his chest. "What do you want from us?" For a moment, nothing happened. Then the lights dimmed, and a low hum filled the room. Images appeared on the main screen. Not words, but scenes. The crew watched in silence as they saw glimpses of an ancient civilization, one far older and more advanced than humanity. These beings had created the artifact, embedding it with their knowledge and technology. They weren't conquerors. They were protectors, building weapons to defend against threats too dangerous to face alone. But something had gone wrong. The creators had vanished, wiped out by forces even they couldn't overcome. Their legacy lived on in the form of the artifact, a living weapon designed to adapt and evolve, waiting for someone worthy to wield it. The images faded, leaving the crew stunned. "So that's it," Emily whispered, breaking the silence. "It's not just a weapon. It's a guardian." Hayes nodded slowly, his mind racing. If the artifact truly was a guardian, then the Dauntless asterisk wasn't acting on its own. It was following the will of its creators. But who decided what was worthy? And why had it chosen humanity? The revelation didn't ease the growing tension among the crew. Some believed the ship was protecting them, guiding them toward a greater destiny. Others feared it might turn against them if they failed to meet its expectations. Hayes struggled to keep everyone focused, reminding them that panic wouldn't help. "We need to understand it," he said firmly, "not fight it." Emily threw herself into her work, determined to unlock the artifact's secrets. With Chief Engineer Daniel Brooks by her side, she studied the glowing patterns on its surface, searching for clues. Each discovery brought new questions, but one thing became clear. The artifact wasn't just enhancing the ship, it was teaching them. Slowly, it was showing them how to use its power. As days passed, the crew began to notice changes within themselves. Some reported heightened senses, others found solutions to problems they'd been stuck on for weeks. It was as if the artifact was influencing them, awakening abilities they didn't know they had. Hayes watched it all unfold with a mix of hope and fear. The Dauntless asterisk had become more than a ship. It was a bridge between humanity and something far greater. But as they ventured deeper into the unknown, he couldn't shake the feeling that they were being tested. And he didn't know if they'd pass. Back on Earth, Admiral William Carter was furious. News of the Dauntless asterisk battle with the Vorthak had reached Earth Command, and it raised more questions than answers. How had a single human warship defeated an entire alien fleet? Why hadn't the crew followed orders to return home? And most importantly, what exactly had they brought aboard their ship? Carter didn't trust the situation. He couldn't let a rogue vessel, no matter how powerful, operate outside Earth's control. He sent Commander Rachel Moore to intercept the Dauntless asterisk. Rachel was one of Earth's best officers, disciplined and intelligent, but she also had a personal connection to Captain Robert Hayes. They had trained together at the academy years ago, and though they hadn't spoken in a long time, she still considered him a friend. Now her mission was clear: bring the Dauntless asterisk back, or destroy it if necessary. When Rachel's fleet arrived, the tension was thick. The Dauntless asterisk floated silently in the void, its glowing patterns faintly visible even from a distance. Rachel opened a communication channel, her face appearing on the bridge screens of both ships. "Robert," she said, her tone firm but not unkind, "you need to stand down. Come home with us." Hayes shook his head. "We can't, Rachel. This isn't just about us anymore." He explained everything: the artifact, the battle with the Vorthak, the strange visions and abilities affecting the crew. Rachel listened carefully, her expression unreadable. When he finished, she sighed. "I want to believe you," she admitted. "But this is too big, too dangerous. What if you lose control? Before Hayes could respond, the Dauntless acted on its own. Without warning, it disabled several of Rachel's ships, targeting their engines and weapons systems with surgical precision. No one was hurt, but the message was clear. The Dauntless wouldn't be stopped. Rachel hesitated. She knew her duty, but something about Hayes' words, and the way the ship had spared her fleet, made her pause. Instead of attacking, she decided to investigate further. Ordering a boarding party to enter the Dauntless, she prepared herself for whatever they might find. Inside the ship, the boarding team quickly realized something was wrong. The corridors twisted and shifted, gravity fluctuated, and walls seemed to move as if alive. Crew members who tried to guide them were disoriented, unable to make sense of the changes. It was like the Dauntless itself was testing them, deciding whether they were worthy to proceed. Lieutenant Emily Parker intervened, stepping forward to help the lost boarding party. With calm determination, she led them through the labyrinthine halls until they reached the cargo bay where the artifact rested. By now, the glowing patterns on its surface were brighter, pulsing rhythmically as if in sync with some unseen heartbeat. Rachel stared at it, her breath catching in her throat. "It's alive," she whispered, stepping closer. Emily nodded. "It's not just technology. It's part of the ship now, and maybe part of us too." She explained how the artifact had been guiding them, teaching them, and even changing them. Some crew members had developed new skills or insights, while others felt stronger or faster. It wasn't random. It was deliberate. Rachel's mind raced. Everything she'd seen challenged what she thought she knew about the universe, and humanity's place in it. If the artifact truly was a guardian meant to protect against threats like the Vorthek, then destroying the Dauntless would be a mistake. But trusting it completely was risky too. As she stood there, torn between loyalty to Earth Command and the evidence before her, Rachel made a decision. Turning to Hayes, she said, "I'll talk to Carter. I'll try to convince him to let you continue, but only if you promise to share everything you learn. Humanity needs to understand this. Robert, all of us." Hayes nodded, relief washing over him. For now, they had a reprieve. But as Rachel left to relay her report, everyone aboard the Dauntless knew the fight wasn't over. The artifact had chosen them, but whether humanity was ready to accept that choice remained to be seen. Rachel Moore's report to Admiral William Carter was met with skepticism and heated debate. Earth Command couldn't ignore the Dauntless incredible power, but trusting it felt like a gamble they weren't sure humanity could afford. The artifact at the heart of the ship defied explanation. It was alien, alive, and unpredictable. Yet Rachel argued passionately that destroying or dismantling the Dauntless would be a mistake. "It saved us from the Vorthek," she reminded them. "And it hasn't harmed any humans. If anything, it's trying to help." After hours of discussion, Earth Command reached a compromise. They would allow the Dauntless to continue its journey, but under strict conditions. A small fleet of Earth ships would accompany it, monitoring its actions and ensuring it didn't act against humanity's interests. Captain Robert Hayes would remain in command, though ultimate authority over the mission rested with Earth Command. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough for now. With the decision made, the Dauntless set course for uncharted regions of space, flanked by the Earth fleet. The crew worked hard to adapt to their new reality. Lieutenant Emily Parker continued studying the artifact, piecing together fragments of its purpose. She discovered that the creators hadn't just built a weapon. They had designed a failsafe. The artifact sought out civilizations capable of unity and cooperation, offering them the tools to survive and thrive among the stars. Humanity's encounter with it wasn't random. It was a test. As weeks passed, the changes within the crew became more noticeable. Some developed heightened senses. Others found themselves solving complex problems with ease. Even Captain Hayes noticed subtle shifts in his own thinking. His instincts were sharper, his decisions quicker. It wasn't just physical or intellectual growth. It felt like the artifact was awakening something deep inside them, pushing them toward their full potential. The Earth fleet watched these developments closely, torn between awe and fear. Commander Rachel Moore stayed aboard her ship, maintaining communication with Hayes and reporting back to Earth Command. She saw firsthand how the Dauntless operated, not as a mindless machine, but as a guardian with purpose. Still, doubts lingered. What if the artifact decided humanity wasn't worthy? What if it turned on them? One day, while traveling through a dense nebula, the fleet encountered another alien species. These beings, called the Caliph, were peaceful traders who had heard rumors of the Dauntless. At first, they approached cautiously, wary of the strange energy emanating from the human ships. But when they realized the Dauntless posed no threat, they grew curious. Through careful negotiations aided by the artifact's influence, the two groups formed an alliance. The Caliph shared valuable knowledge about nearby star systems, while the humans offered protection from hostile forces. This encounter reinforced what Emily and the crew had begun to suspect. The artifact wasn't just a weapon. It was a bridge. It connected civilizations, fostering understanding and cooperation where there might otherwise have been conflict. Slowly, humanity started earning its place among the stars, not through conquest, but through unity. Back aboard the Dauntless, Captain Hayes reflected on how far they'd come. The ship had transformed them, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. They were no longer just explorers. They were ambassadors, carrying the hopes of an ancient legacy into the unknown. But challenges still lay ahead. Not every civilization would welcome them, and not every test would be easy. As the Dauntless drifted deeper into the cosmos, Hayes knew one thing for certain. Humanity's greatest adventure was only beginning. And whether they succeeded or failed depended not just on the ship, but on the choices they made along the way. The Dauntless continued its journey, venturing farther into the galaxy than any human ship had ever gone. With Earth's fleet trailing behind and the artifact guiding their path, the crew faced new challenges every day. Some were tests of courage, others of wisdom, but all pushed humanity to grow in ways no one could have imagined. Each encounter with alien species brought lessons about trust, survival, and the delicate balance between strength and compassion. Lieutenant Emily Parker spent countless hours studying the artifact, her understanding deepening with each passing week. She began to see patterns in its behavior, realizing it wasn't just enhancing the ship, it was teaching them how to adapt. The glowing symbols on its surface shifted constantly, forming images that hinted at dangers ahead or solutions to problems they hadn't yet faced. It was like a teacher, patient but firm, nudging humanity toward its potential. Captain Robert Hayes watched his crew evolve with pride and concern. They were stronger, smarter, and more united than before, but he worried about the cost. The artifact's influence was undeniable, but it also raised questions. How much of themselves were they losing in this transformation? Were they still human, or something else entirely? One day, as the Dauntless approached a massive star system, the artifact reacted unusually. Its glow intensified, and the ship's systems surged with energy. On the main screen, an image appeared, a sprawling structure floating near a dying sun. It looked ancient, its surface covered in intricate carvings similar to those on the artifact itself. "This is it," Emily whispered, her voice trembling. The Creator's home. The discovery sparked both excitement and fear among the crew. What would they find there? Answers, or another test. As they drew closer, the structure came alive, emitting pulses of light that resonated with the artifact aboard the Dauntless. A message echoed in their minds, clear and powerful. "You have proven yourselves worthy." The crew stared at each other in stunned silence. Worthy of what? Before anyone could ask, the structure opened, revealing a chamber filled with glowing orbs. Each orb contained knowledge, technology, history, and secrets of the universe. The artifact guided the dauntless asterisk inside, allowing the crew to access the information. It was overwhelming, like standing at the edge of infinite possibility. Commander Rachel Moore, watching from her ship, felt a mix of awe and unease. Humanity now held tools that could change everything, for better or worse. Would they use this power wisely, or would it lead to destruction? Back aboard the dauntless asterisk, Captain Hayes gathered his crew. "This is our chance," he said, his voice steady. "We've been given a gift, but it's up to us to decide how to use it. We can't let fear or greed guide us. We have to remember who we are." As the fleet prepared to leave the star system, the crew reflected on their journey. They had faced unimaginable challenges, fought enemies, formed alliances, and grown beyond their limits. The dauntless asterisk was no longer just a warship. It was a symbol of hope, resilience, and unity. Humanity's future stretched out before them, vast and uncertain, but full of promise. Hayes stood on the bridge, gazing at the stars. He didn't know what lay ahead, but he knew one thing for certain. Humanity's greatest adventure was only beginning, and whether they succeeded or failed depended not on the ship, but on the choices they made along the way. The dauntless asterisk roared forward, carrying its crew and the dreams of billions toward the unknown.